In 1994, John Carpenter's psychological apocalyptic horror masterpiece In the Mouth of Madness came out. The story focuses on freelance insurance investigator John Trent, played by the ever-reliable Sam Neill, hot off the heels of Jurassic Park, who is sent on a job to try and find a missing horror writer, Shutter Kane, along with the transcript of his latest horror novel. It is believed that Kane's books are so influential, they affect its readers, causing paranoia and memory loss. Having previously been attacked by a crazed man with an axe in a restaurant who turned out to be Kane's agent, Trent agrees to travel to Kane's hometown, Hobbs End, accompanied by Kane's agent, Linda Stiles. And upon arriving at the town, it becomes clear that things aren't what they seem. At first, Trent thinks that this is all a staged hoax, but quickly realises that supernatural forces are at work, as Kane is being guided by evil demonic monsters from another dimension, as the world of fiction starts to affect the world of reality, in this surreal and disorientating movie from one of the greatest masters of horror. To me, In the Mouth of Madness is a sort of satire on fan-base obsessions, and how we become obsessed with fictional stories, whether it be novels or movies, and how it often consumes us. Something that I think people can relate to more in modern days than they did back in 1994. So today we are going to further explore this strange and bizarre movie by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about In the Mouth of Madness. So let's check it out.
Do you want some too, buddy? He sees you. He sees you.
Number 10. John Carpenter originally turned the movie down. In the Mouth of Madness was written by Michael DeLuca, who was a head at New Line Cinema and had written the screenplay for Lawnmower Man, along with Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and working as a producer on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. The script for In the Mouth of Madness was written in the 80s, and DeLuca always envisioned John Carpenter to direct it. However, Carpenter initially turned the project down when he was first approached. After Carpenter's rejection, other directors were attached to directing the movie, including Hellraiser 2 director Tony Randall and Pet Sematary director Mary Lambert. Despite this though, several years had passed and the project didn't go anywhere, until finally in the early 90s John Carpenter changed his mind and agreed to direct In the Mouth of Madness. And let's face it, once you get John Carpenter directing your story, you know it's going to be something special. Number 9. The movie pays homage to H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King. There are many H.P. Lovecraft elements and tropes borrowed and referenced throughout In the Mouth of Madness. The biggest giveaway is the movie's title itself, which pays homage to Lovecraft's story At the Mountains of Madness. Lovecraft's horror fiction often dives into the aspect of awakening demons and evil godlike forces from other realities. And the story even starts off being told in flashbacks, another common trait of Lovecraft. Even Kane's novels in the films are references to the works of Lovecraft, such as The Whisper in the Dark, which is a reference to The Whisperer in the Darkness. Some of Kane's quotes in the movie are even quotes written by Lovecraft, including the illimitable gulf of the unknown. Also, Kane himself can be seen as an exaggerated movie version of Stephen King, who by 1994 was huge in the horror novel fiction business. King is even referenced in the movie when it's explained that Kane's books outsell Stephen King's books. And Kane's hometown is seen as being a New England location, just like King and his stories. Lovecraft is an old-school horror writer whose stories came out in the 20s and 30s, whereas in 1994 King was very much modern, so it's like it's a bringing together of old and modern horror. Number 8. Filming locations. Shooting in The Mouth of Madness took place from August to October 1993, consisting of a 3-month-long shoot with a budget of $8 million. The filming of the fictional town of Hobbs End took place around Markham, Ontario in Canada. The mental hospital scene at the start of the movie was actually a water filtration plant in Toronto, Canada. There were a few minor cuts and bruises that took place during the movie's filming. For example, the Wall of Monsters prop ran over special effect artist Greg Nicotiro's foot. And in another scene, a piece of broken fake glass actually cut Sam Neill's neck. The Mrs. Pickman creature was originally created via a stuntman wearing a prosthetic suit, but Carpenter felt the effect didn't look right and rejected it in favour for creating the effect via miniatures instead. Number 7. The film stars a young Anakin Skywalker. In The Mouth of Madness features a long list of well-known co-stars who turn up throughout the movie, including Charlton Heston, who played the publishing director who sends John Trent out to find Kane. Fright Night 2 star Julie Carmen plays Linda Stiles. David Warner plays a psychiatrist who tries to understand Trent's madness. And Beverly Hills Cop 2 baddie Georgian Prochnow plays the sinister author Sutter Kane, along with other performances including John Glover, Happy Gilmore's grandma, and Vigo the Carpathian. However, one performance many of you might not have noticed was the performance by a very young Hayden Christensen, who played a local paperboy who was spotted by a confused and disorientated John Trent. Yep, long before he was going on about how much he hates sand in the Star Wars prequel, young Christensen was delivering papers in the creepy world of In the Mouth of Madness, in what was his first movie role. No wonder he turned to the dark side. If having to put up with the creepy monsters and mutations in The Mouth of Madness doesn't turn you into Darth Vader, then nothing will. Number 6. John Carpenter also scored the movie. Indeed, along with composer Jim Lang, John Carpenter also composed the music for In the Mouth of Madness, and often you can hear his usual tropes of heavy metal rock music, something that actually got criticised upon its release. But I don't mind it. I think it gives the movie that lethal edge and adds to the pulp horror story vibe of the movie. It's not uncommon for Carpenter to also score his own movies, as many of his own movies features his iconic sounds, including Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, Christine, Big Trouble in Little China, Prince of Darkness, and They Live, among others. I find his scores to be hard-hitting and foreboding, like as if at any moment chaos is going to be unleashed, while also featuring rocking sounds. We often praise Carpenter as a film director, but maybe we should give him more praise as a composer too. Number 5. Release. Interestingly enough, In the Mouth of Madness had its premiere release in Italy on December the 10th, 1994, in which it finally got released on the States nearly 2 months later on February 3rd, 1995. Why Italy? And why was it shown there before anywhere else? That I don't know, but apparently the movie was going to be shown in the States earlier, presumably in December, but got pushed back to February on the account that the studio didn't have much faith in the movie performing well. Domestically, In the Mouth of Madness only made nearly $3.5 million on its opening week, and would go on to make $8.9 million, so it wasn't exactly a knockout success. The critics were very skeptical of the movie too. But here's the thing, in my opinion, John Carpenter wasn't a very commercial director, and often his movies weren't big in the box office, and often did go over people's heads when released, but would then go on to become classics in time. Cough cough, The Thing! He doesn't make movies that are of the moment, but rather movies whose true geniuses and craft get realised as time goes on. Besides, if making lots of money makes a movie good, then Attack of the Clones is a masterpiece. Just ask the Paperboy. Number 4. Movie Poster Madness. The initial poster released for In the Mouth of Madness was this one, where we see a stretched face and church being pulled into a book. To me, visually, it isn't very appealing and doesn't really sell the movie well, and on first inspection I had to really look right into the picture to see what was happening. To me, it just doesn't stand out or look spectacular. Another poster that was frequently used was this one of Sam Neill in a padded cell covered in the crosses that he scribbled on himself. Interesting poster, but still to me it doesn't really represent the movie. It looks more like some serious movie about a disturbed mental patient, without displaying any of the popcorn fun or sass of the movie. The Australian VHS cover was really interesting as it features Sam Neill's character sinking into the pages of a book, but once again very melodramatic and serious. This poster is really curious as it features a cross with Cain's disembodied head floating in the middle of it. But despite all the as mentioned posters really missing the mark, the one that really takes the cake is this Japanese poster, which features a torn hole in the page of a book, with what looks like a werewolf waiting in the darkness. Now sure, the movie had mutant demons, but I don't exactly remember a werewolf. Only with recent Blu-ray releases do I think that finally a poster has been created to perfectly capture the essence of the film. Number 3, In the Mouth of Madness has a bizarre disclaimer. In the Mouth of Madness's end credits, we see a disclaimer stating that no animals were harmed during the making of the movie, as certified by the American Humane Association, which is pretty standard, nothing to see here. However, it's what the next paragraph says is where things get interesting, as it further claims that human interaction was monitored by the Interplanetary Psychiatric Association, and further states that the body count was high and the casualties were heavy. In other words, no animals were harmed while making In the Mouth of Madness, whereas people on the other hand got completely messed up. Now there are two things going on here. One, this is an in-joke, a sort of Easter egg if you will, put in by a member of the production. Or this goes with the movie's narrative, that the world has now ended with the release of the In the Mouth of Madness movie, as seen in the film, and that the movie itself that we have just seen has now unleashed our doom, making the end credits still act as a part of the movie's narrative. So what do you think? Minor joke or thickening of the plot? Number 2, John Carpenter's original idea for the movie's intro. In the Mouth of Madness starts off with a great rocking theme that was composed by Carpenter, as mentioned, while we see a factory that is printing and manufacturing Sutter Kane's books. The music and visuals go well hand in hand, creating a very unique opening sequence. However, Carpenter originally had different ideas for the movie's intro. He originally wanted the credit sequence to feature the Metallica song Enter the Sandman. Enter the Sandman is one awesome song and actually would have really suited In the Mouth of Madness, but unfortunately for Carpenter, he claimed that he was refused the rights to use the song for the film. Well, actually, Carpenter is a little hazy on what exactly happened, as he said it was either they were refused the rights or they just couldn't afford to use it. So Carpenter had to provide his own brand of heavy rock for the intro. But had Enter the Sandman, a well-known song being used in The Mouth of Madness, then it would have made the movie feel more commercialized, which would have gone against the Carpenter trope. In my opinion, of course. Number 1, In the Mouth of Madness is the third installment in a trilogy. Ironically, In the Mouth of Madness isn't a standalone film. John Carpenter has explained it's the third entry of his Apocalypse trilogy, which consists of The Thing and The Prince of Darkness, and of course is concluded with In the Mouth of Madness. All movies feature the world potentially being taken over by supernatural out-of-this-world forces, which also includes body possession mixed with gruesome mutations, creating a spiritual trilogy between the three movies. To me, the three movies represent three stages of the apocalypse. There is The Thing, which explores the world before the evil takes hold, in which the story is confounded to the remote setting of Antarctica, with just a few characters discovering the evil. Prince of Darkness represents the start of the apocalypse, when the evil starts to take over and it becomes clear to all that the end is nigh. And In the Mouth of Madness ends with the apocalypse in full effect in its later stages. Well guys, that was my look into In the Mouth of Madness. It's unnerving, it's creepy, it's Carpenter, what more can I say? I say go check it out. I'm glad that the movie's popularity has increased in time, and it is a movie that I do frequently get asked to make a video about, so if you haven't seen it, you have a horror gem that awaits you. Anyway, I'm Minty, and I'm going to ring up Hayden Christensen to find out why I haven't had my papers delivered lately. See ya!